CFTC orders JP Morgan to pay $75 million for widespread use of unapproved communication methods and related record keeping and supervisory failures. Violated JP Morgan's own policies and procedures, which prohibited such communications. Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics on a very exciting pre-Christmas Monday. We're here on December 20th, 2021. Santa right around the corner. Hopefully he is bringing silver to all of the good silvery boys and girls out there. As you can see tonight, not only am I wearing a beautiful silver chain I'm grateful for having acquired earlier this year, and nice to have some silver on the skin, but also quite fortunate to be wearing my first majestic polo shirt. Who is bringing you tonight's episode, which is quite an exciting one, about Rostin Behnam of the CFTC getting in on the action, tag teaming up on JP Morgan, sending them a fine, which is certainly exciting news for silver investors. Perhaps not the fine that you might have expected, although tonight we'll even be hearing not directly from Keith Neumeyer, but I've been searching the interweb. Apparently he's familiar with Ross Behnam as well, and we will cover that and more. And to begin, you know, I like to be accurate on these reports, and last Friday I mentioned that JP Morgan had been fined $200 million or $125 million, as you can see there, for letting employees use WhatsApp to evade the regulator's reach. So fined $125 million for going out of their way to have conversations where they were avoiding letting the regulators find out what they were talking about. Now, obviously, we don't have the full information, but certainly not a good sign to begin with. But there was breaking news, because later on, I see the story was updated to 200 million, and you wouldn't believe it. Another regulator, the CFTC, checking in, fined the bank $75 million. Now, certainly finding JP Morgan or finding a felony they've committed or a major law that they've broken, or even I did see that video about how some ex-JP Morgan brokers did actually screw grandma. And here we stress the importance. Gary Gensler even appears where he talks about how private chat rooms with names including the cartel were used to conspire to fix currency rates to maximize profits. And obviously, as we found out later on last year, it wasn't just the Forex markets. This spoofing spanned at least 8 years and involved hundreds of thousands of spoof orders in both precious metals and treasury futures contracts. So when you see old Gary Gensler over here talking about these scandals, that was actually when he was the commissioner of the CFTC and ignored all of the infractions that many people wrote and told him about. Bart Chilton actually describes how many of the commissioners were blocking emails with evidence, similar to what appears to be taking place again now. I'm not sure, a little research to do on that one. But so far, after I published my letter to Donna Falk-White, the media and relations director at the CFTC, One Patriot actually sent a copy of that to her and this congressman, and her email address got kicked back. I tried emailing her again, no luck. So we'll see where she's at. But in either case, these are the kind of things that you would think Ross Behnam would be all over, with a big chance to make his name in the regulatory industry and the hot party circuit that entails. But instead, CFTC orders JP Morgan to pay $75 million for widespread use, widespread, not just a couple rogue thugs, of unapproved communication methods and related record keeping and supervisory failures. So here, talking about the crime, they use WhatsApp, very handy internationally, finds it the widespread use. Violated JP Morgan's own policies and procedures, which prohibited such communications. Actually, wasn't sure if that was part of the bonus manual, but anyway, you see the 75 million. But here's my favorite part, because I've personally been wondering where Rosty has been on the whole silver situation, because again, all the way back to February 1st, 2021, where acting chairman Ross Behnam is communicating with fellow regulators, exchange stakeholders to remove any potential threats to the integrity of the derivatives market for silver. So we did hear more about that. We'll come back to that too. But here you see Ross, I'm thinking, all right, JP Morgan, he's got my letters. He's looked at my evidence files. Ross is on it. Kumbaya to that. But he says, maintenance of complete and accurate books and records is required in order to operate in our industry, as is diligent supervision, said acting chairman Rostin Behnam. I mean, who could disagree with that? Registrants, supervisors, and compliance officers must understand these regulations and adhere to them and their firm's guidance when conducting their business. The message of today's enforcement action cannot be more clear. Couldn't be. That the Division of Enforcement will aggressively investigate potential record keeping and related supervision violations, and the Commission will impose appropriate penalties for violations of these critical regulatory requirements. Record keeping. It's big, said Vince McGonigal. Wow, that's a great name. Sounds like from a movie. Case background. Oh, this should be fun. The ordinance that during the course of a CFTC investigation into certain of JP Morgan's trading. Now, again, given that this is a government regulator owned and reports to the people, could you at least let us know which trading operation it was? Is it the same precious metals wing of the operation? This one? Certain JP Morgan trading staff issued subpoenas to JP Morgan for certain communications. Then the Division of Enforcement learned, based on communications received from a third party, that JP Morgan traders had been using personal text messages and WhatsApp messages to communicate. So let's review what happened here. So during the course of their investigation, they had to get third-party notification that JP Morgan was lying again, just like they did in that case with Daniel Shack, hedge fund guy who got JP Morgan to write him a big fat check rather than go to the discovery process. Wink, wink, note to investors. It's coming. Our options. So once again, it looks like they were hiding the evidence. Moreover, certain of those communications were responsive to the subpoenas. And the CFT staff brought the use of unapproved communication methods by certain of JP Morgan's traders to JP Morgan's attention. JP Morgan notified CFTC staff that the firm was aware. They notified the firm that they were aware of widespread and long-standing use by their own employees of unapproved methods to engage in business relation communications. So basically, they're notifying the CFTC after they got caught that they've been doing it widespread and for a long time. Now we got that clear. As a result of JP Morgan's failure to ensure that employees, including supervisors and senior level employees, so not just the lower level guys, but even the higher ups, them to comply, not easy to do, with the firm's communication policies, JP Morgan failed to maintain thousands of business related communications and thus failed diligently supervise its businesses. And now they're going to get fined $75 million, which I'd be willing to bet a chunk of silver is less than what those hidden conversations allowed them to make. I'm sure that Ross, who has talked about full transparency in the industry, will be all over that soon. Who knows? Maybe he's investigating the silver market. I mean, wouldn't that be funny? And I read some of these. I read the other whistleblower guy. I guess it was the one from 2012, and everything they're saying about him fit the same thing here. Does not say which department. And if he popped out tomorrow and said that they were investigating silver and it actually went through the information I sent, well, I suppose I'd be happy about that. But the big issue I have is that it's been ongoing for so long. People have already lost money. People have already been affected. They've already had to make different choices. So yes, it would be good if they did something. I mean, I don't really expect Ross to do that. And, instead, I mean, they're sitting around there chest thumping as he funds the CFTC's Christmas bonus pool. They get a $75 million fine. Here's one way of looking at it. you remember back on February 2nd, the day after Rosti opened his silver manipulation investigation. So he opens an investigation on the 1st. Then on the 2nd, you have, even according to iShares, JP Morgan, BlackRock, they're on records, the greatest day of demand in digital silver history, let alone what the physical dealers came on one after another, said on the show. All detailed on the Arcadia Economics channel, I might add, and you can hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to stay up to date on these things. Because unfortunately, Ross won't tell you that I submitted this in multiple rounds of evidence to the CFTC's TPS report whistleblower hotline. The fucking thing was smoking. So anyway, you have Rosti here on the 1st say he's going to check into it and all these, Reddit warriors and all that. And then on the 2nd, you see the bank set demand records. See that spike? That was the first 3 days of silver squeeze, which just back that out a little bit. Even if you go into the 20-year, that's still like triple. It's triple anything you'd ever seen in history. And of course, at the time when they claimed to have added 115 million ounces over 3 days, while the price fell 10%, I was talking with Rafi Farber about it today because we all said it was not possible back then. I remember calling all these guys, talked about it on the show. And just looking at that, so let's say 100 million ounces and silver went from 30 down to 27. So that's $300 million on that crime alone, let alone the derivative positions. I mean, Ross doesn't want to comment on how it looks like on Babe Ruth month after month, explaining the option board where boom, sinks like a magnet. And in the end, here you have, I was going to save this chart till the end, but look at that. Every commodity in history is at multiples. And then here you have silver, which what I would say most people who actually buy physical silver turn to the most in hyperinflationary times, which is what we're getting now. I don't know if Ross, actually, we'll get to exactly why Ross does not talk about that. He works for Joe Biden, who of course is denying that there's any inflation. In fact, here's a little nugget that I'm guessing even many seasoned investors might not be aware of. But if you go back to Reagan's working group on capital markets, basically in 1987, when the mortgage bubble they had fueled then collapsed, they created this thing called the Working Group on Capital Markets, which now is affectionately known as the Plunge Protection Team. And basically, when you see these wild swings in the market that make no investment sense, and you hear that one of the governments intervened, often that's the Plunge Protection Team. And here, as you can see, one of the members of that is the chair of the CFTC, which is, of course, none other than Rostin Behnam. So way to go on that, scoring that 75 million caper there, buddy. Because now slightly out last year, September 29th, 2020, JP Morgan was fined $920 million for spoofing and manipulating precious metals market. So slightly over a year later, after they committed an even bigger crime on the day after. So you have, let's look at the timeline, September 29th last year. So from September until February, then it was 5 months, let's call it. Ross opens a silver investigation. The next day, biggest crime in the history of the silver market. And I might add, also, when I called iShares on the 5th, February 5th, was asking for the audit, they never mentioned anything about the prospectus changes that they made in February 3rd, day in between Jeff Curry of Goldman Sachs, authorized participant, lying on Bloomberg on February 2nd, and then CNBC February 4th. So there's that. And this happened all just days after Rosti's investigation. Oh, yeah. Then there's this. But you go from September, they pay that fine. Then you have the biggest crime in the history of silver market, which is well documented. And then you have this December, $75 million because they were evading regulators. Yet he leaves the investors who have been the prey, the carcass, the dinner here. No comment of what they're doing. None of the money goes back to them. So as you can see, I'm not a fan of Ross's brand of regulation. I think that may have something to do with why the price of silver is half of its 1980 high. Of course, don't take my opinion for it. Let's hear Ross checked in on this issue himself.
And in many respects, the resiliency and the market structure of the futures market really were able to tamp down what could have been a much worse situation in the silver market.
So let's keep in mind here, this isn't just some dude. This guy's on the plunge protection team. He said this about February 2nd when he was tamping down the market. A month or two later, LBMA puts out their silver report saying they were days, weeks away from being blown out. If it had continued, they would have run out of metal. Their exact words. Then a month after that, they say there was a miscount. So basically, what every silver analyst I know said was impossible that first week of February that I submitted as a round of evidence. We'll show you that one just in the description field below as well. And now you see, this is the CFTC commissioner, acting chairman, member of the plunge protection team, more formally known as the Working Group on Financial Markets. He told you exactly what happened February 2nd. There's no mystery. There's no conspiracy. Here, you want more details? Here we go.
We have sort of history and precedent in the future space. You know, we have a match order book, don't have rules. We have T+1 settlement. The clearing infrastructure as a general matter historically within the future space is built in and very strong. Initial margin, daily mark to market, position limits. All of these things together, I think, really were very effective in managing what was at some point in those few days in late January, potentially a challenging situation, and give credit to the exchange for utilizing its authority and some of the tools it has within the margin space to control the sort of the price and the volatility of the silver contracts. Control the sort of the price and the volatility to control the sort of the price and the volatility to control the sort of the price and the volatility.
This is the acting chairman of the CFTC, who's seen every piece of evidence that I've ever showed you, or at least should have, because I sent it to them. 3 rounds of evidence. I'm like saying this stuff and hiding it. I'm trying to get them to stop the damn crime. It was part of it. He used his status as one of the few select members of the Working Group on Capital Markets to tell you exactly what happened. And the LBMA confirmed it. All the pieces are there. They were just hoping you wouldn't notice. But fortunately, that is written up into this evidence file here. Yeah, it's all there. Send it to your favorite congressional representative, which many viewers have already started doing. They're heroes in my mind. There. It's all there. This guy talked about the market features that the position limits, match order book, all the stuff that was designed. And then you can go onto the CFTC's own YouTube page and see on February 23rd of this year, he's having meetings where Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan are voting on the policy on behalf of MRAC, one of his committees, and the CCP. I mean, the guy's throwing it out there for you. He's connecting a few dots here. There's a reason why he hasn't said anything. And they can say they can't talk ongoing investigation. Well, he talked about it plenty here at the Boca Raton Futures Conference. Why can't he even confirm that he's gotten the evidence? So if he pops up tomorrow and says, oh, well, we're going to do this and that now. I mean, where were you, buddy? last 2 weeks ago, wrote a letter that because I had been in contact with the media director, Donna Falkwhite. No answer, a lot of wasted time. Couldn't even just say, we're not going to say anything. Keeps saying, oh, I'll get to the bottom. I'll get someone to talk to. All I asked was who could answer any of these questions. But now you know what happened. Now you know what's going to happen eventually because you saw it. Well, the clues are there. You don't have to take my opinion for it. You can verify every single piece of evidence, the data. It's all there. It's the best part. That's what I always loved about this. It's like, fine, people like me, not like me. That's fine. That's great. It doesn't change what this guy said or the way that Donna Falkwhite. If you want to know the story behind that, well, you can watch this video. CFTC suppresses silver manipulation evidence again. So I'm just sitting here collecting and making notes in my file of who received it, who ignored it. The crime is pretty simple. And fine, I get it. I get it that there's no rule of law in the US. That's part of why I left. Because of stuff like this. It's like, what's the point of having a financial market when you catch the regulators? So I don't put my money in this stuff. Stuff like mining stocks or my option trading. But I don't leave money in dollar accounts. And anyone who understands the challenge of starting a business, you're seeing capital leave. So anyway, here's all the evidence files. There's the first round on February 12th, second round, April 6th. Then actually the letter I wrote to Rostin Behnam asking him to clarify the comments was sent directly to him, did not get returned. I also sent it to all of the silver mining executives on the show because I think they've been stolen from billions of dollars. However many subscribers we had, talks about it. Give credit to the recording cuts out there, but give credit to someone utilizing its authority and some of the tools it has within the margin space to control the price and volatility of the silver contracts. So he's high-fiving someone who helped him control the silver contract, the price and the volatility. How do we know when else it was tamped down? Is that why it talks about it being tamped down? Is that why it got up to $29 the previous time? I guess it was July of the year before. Let's see what Keith Neumeyer thinks about it.
So here we are. We have Reddit, the crowd, coming in to buy silver. The silver price goes from $20 to $30 over a matter of a couple of days. This clown gets interviewed on CNBC, and he says quite clearly to the interviewee, we were able to successfully tamper down the market because if the silver price actually got any higher, it would have created so much damage.
Okay, Keith, who thinks Keith's holding back so far? Keith?
So why does a regulator actually care about price? What's going on there?
Right.
There's something behind the scenes.
Why do they want to keep silver down?
So I sent this to him. Why did he tell the Boca Raton Futures Conference? Why did he tell people who attended the Boca Raton Futures Conference, but not the public? Those are unanswered questions. So he can like me, he can not like me. It has nothing to do with me. This is the best part of evidence. It's just evidence. And I am going to be organizing this page. Actually have a massive efforts going on behind the scenes to make this even more clear. So I know if you dig through it here, the stuff is there and we tried to make it clear. I think for people who watch the show, they can see this, but we're going to make it, organize this every way possible so that it couldn't be more clear. Although that's a good title on that thumbnail there, if I may say so. Here's the round of evidence. Look, this was sent to their TPS whistleblower hotline February 12th. Now you see, starting Sunday the 6th, silver started trading higher. SLV sold another 20 million, requiring JP Morgan to add it. Multiple dealers told Mr. Marcus far and away the busiest day in sales history. Early hours, morning of February 2nd, you see the large volume hammering the price. There, we even put the damn chart for him. There it is. Here's silver. This chart doesn't show the $30, but you see it tumbling down. There's February 2nd in the morning. I mean, you see it all here. There, it's mapped out. Explain outside when the liquidity is low. Explain spoofing. Showed the exact quote. Bart Chilton detailing this, and then a few hours later in the middle of the night, in the face of the greatest buying spree in silver history, JP Morgan downgrades the sector. This is a pump and dump. In case anyone doesn't know who I am or seeing this for the first time, I spent 11 years on Wall Street, including Moody's for 2 years, a chop shop that turned out to be. Then I went to Wharton for an MBA. Then I was trading options for 7 years on the American New York Stock Exchange. So I've been around a few different things. And I've never seen, in the time there, I never saw anything like this. But this is a pump and dump. And Rostin Behnam's part of it. And I think that's the reason why he does not comment on this. Even when he says they find JP Morgan, they won't tell you what it's about. Miners decline as JP Morgan downgrades sector, February 2nd, the middle of it. That's why Rostin Behnam looked the other way. That's what he had to tamp down. And he used his power as a member of the working group on capital markets to do it. So guys got some explaining to do, or else what's the point of having a financial market? How much more clear could it be? And he's the lawyer. just ex-Wall Street YouTuber. And as Golden and JP Morgan, they plan bumper payout for investment bankers after deal-making boom. So they may raise their bonus pool for investment bankers by as much as 40 or 50% this year, respectively. So it looks like that $75 million fine isn't really going to deter much. And here now, Biden tapping 2 new CFTC commissioners. Look at these resumes. Summer Mersinger most recently served as chief of staff to CFTC Commissioner Dawn Stump, who quit. So basically, she's also been suppressing the silver manipulation evidence. And also Carolyn Pham, who's a managing director at Citigroup. I mean, why don't you just get Jamie Dimon to run? Let him just be Emperor of Silver. Although in addition to Citigroup, where she worked since 2014, she also previously served at the CFTC as a policy advisor to a politician. So there couldn't be any conflict of interest there. Wonder what Keith was talking about.
This clown.
It's confirmed by the Senate that Fairwell helped fill out a depleted CFTC, where the 5-member board currently has only 2 members, and the media director's email gets returned. So I don't know. It's not a good look, especially with Zap 'em Up Joe and the Let's Go Brandon administration singing those poll ratings. But fortunately for Rostin Behnam, as a new potential source of revenue, JP Morgan is launching the firm's first active sustainability. So you get some climate change. Can combine a new profit center for Rostin Behnam's climate warming derivatives, which we know he's much more comfortable talking about than silver. Here's a story that I thought is worthy of notice, especially now with the Maxwell trial ongoing and names of JP Morgan executives allegedly being tied to that. I've not been able to confirm it, so we'll leave it there. But here, Jess Staley is gone from Barclays, but his successor will carry on his signature strategy of betting big on UK's last major presence on Wall Street. Barclays appointed C.S. Venkatakrishnan as chief executive after Mr. Staley unexpectedly stepped down under pressure from regulators about how he characterized his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. So the guy who's quitting, Jess, had some relationship that there's conversation about now. And now the guy taking over, known as Venkat. So now that Venkat's a new sheriff in town. The new Barclays chief is a veteran executive of JP Morgan Chase. Okay, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, where he played a role in calling out the risks in the London whale trading. So he has seen JP Morgan get too big in a market and have that blow up in their face. And he joined Barclays shortly after Mr. Staley, who he described as a mentor and a friend. So he's friends with the guy that had some sort of relationship that led to regulators and pressure and him stepping down. I don't know what happened. Just saying that's also on JP Morgan's watch. Again, here, as I've mentioned several times, here's JP Morgan settling the lawsuit that accused the firm of spoofing trades. So here, yep, Daniel Shack. Check this out. This is great. Great. 3 plaintiffs had accused JP Morgan, and they lost tens of millions. Bank denied the allegations for years, which means they lied again. And in 2016, succeeded in getting the plaintiffs' claims dismissed. Fortunately, they kept at it. Just kept at it, like we will with our Freedom of Information Request Act, which will come with silver bounties. Oh, it's coming. Appealed it. Then John Edmonds, see, once the evidence was released, see, now that's another thing Ross is holding up. He can't give you, there's a lot of evidence Ross has that you and your lawyer don't have. Ross is keeping that from you. So if you've lost a lot of money in gold and silver, not only is it because of people like Ross Behnam, but he's also preventing you from having the evidence that he's sitting on. He continues to do it. But when you get that evidence, which is what I like to provide here, then you can actually get these things overturned. And that led to settlement, because JP Morgan never shows their face, true cowards that they are. So with that said, fortunately, I'm organizing my side and going in our favor. We've already raised almost $32,000 specifically for legal action against the CFTC, which includes now a 1,000-ounce silver bar. So it's great because since I expect the free market to take care of this long before Rostin and Joe Biden, well, that'll appreciate it. So there will be plenty of funds to go around to take legal action against Ross Behnam for what, I don't even know what you call this crime, but we'll find out. Also, under Ross Behnam's watch, check this out. You see here, CFTC's own website. And where do we have? There we go. Silver. It's 3,000 contract limit. And then what do we see on this? Look, JP Morgan, 6,000 contracts. Of course, that's not the first time. There's March. So right around the time of all those shenanigans, they were March. That means they were issuing. So in beginning February, we don't know the timing on that. Ross does, but they were over the limit. They were over the limit there. They were over the limit there. They were over the limit there. I did call the CME on that. They didn't really have much of an answer. They said, well, it could be a violation of the limit, or they could have an exemption. I say, how would investors know which one? They said, well, we can't tell you. I said, has anyone even like checked to make sure which of the two it is? I mean, like, so if it is a violation, something's done. They said the CFTC monitors that. Now, did the CFTC monitor this 4,949 contract notice here issued by Bank of America, which Bix Weir found, so credit to Bix, and then stopped 6,000 here? So those both appear to be over the limit. CFTC has not commented. Wrapping up here, again, here is the link to our evidence room, which will look different as we're ongoing, and there's plenty more to come. As you can see, made a few videos about this, spent a few hours thinking about it, and it's just not right. It's unfortunate that the regulators, at least to me, have made clear that they're a part of it. Yet I will continue to organize the evidence, explore all legal options, all publicity options to expose this on a wider scale. And fortunately, I think the market will eventually take care of that. I know it's been a bit of a wait for some people, yet I suppose the answer I found to that is just accepting the world the way it is. and the fact that at least I'm able to, and just making the best of the situation, which in this case is continuing to detail the evidence. And at some point, I think it'll become unavoidable. So with that said, hope this helps put a little clarity on things for you. At least you understand why the price is so counterintuitive. While we are seeing inflation prints set records, I think they will continue to set records, but at least you have an idea why. Now you know the CFTC acting chairman is part of a price capping operation, is what it is. So with that said, go out there, have a great night. Rest assured, trust your judgment over mine, over Ben Bernanke's, over anybody else's. And I think that'll guide you pretty well. So with that said, appreciate you being here, and I will see you again tomorrow.